thought to writing promotional brochures for colonists and investors. Hanging an odd label on a new world was as bad an idea as saddling your child with a strange name. Beside the huge granite-ware coffee pot on the edge of the fire, there were some tubers about the size of 2 fists held together. They were wrapped in foil after being rubbed in cooking oil and salted and peppered. Every once in a while, Jack would roll them a bit with a stick so they cooked evenly. They should be ready by the time their partner joined them for supper. The crows they brought along ingested them with nary a hiccup, then the mice, and finally the monkeys. After all the lab work was fine, Myrtle had worn a dab of the cooked root taped against her skin for 24 hours with no reaction. Jack first ate a sample about the size of a grain of rice. They slowly increased the serving size, taking turns between them and their partner Gordon until they were sure 200 grams produced no unpleasant reaction. Several other promising plants would wait to be tested back in civilization. It was a time-consuming process they didn't desire to repeat that often. The temptation to hurry the process and just dig in had been strong, because the odor of the cooked vegetable was maddening. It combined the fine, starchy smell of a potato with oily, rich tang of sesame. When the baked root was struck firmly before cutting it open, the interior burst apart into pearly beads like tapioca in a starchy matrix. The texture was as appealing as the taste. They named them pearl potatoes. A pair of eyes appeared in the dark, reflecting the fire like a cat's eyes, but far higher above the ground than any cat would stand. Unafraid of the fire, they approached until a few reflections caught off claws and sleek fur, then off an equipment harness and polished leather holster for a sidearm neither of the humans could comfortably lift, much less shoot. When he eased down by the fire, their partner Gordon was about the same mass as a mature grizzly bear. True hands on upper arms with opposed thumbs and claws on heavier lower arms angled down from his shoulders. He could run, with frightening speed, on 4 or 6 limbs if he rolled his fingers in and ran on his knuckles. To do that now, his kind wore special running gloves to protect their hands. His eyes, when he was sitting, were about where Jack's would be standing. He had the same broad, flat head of a Bruin, indeed wider, but instead of a narrow muzzle, his mouth was a wide arc, resembling nothing so much as a frog. That is, until he opened it and showed the impressive dentition. Despite it being a natural gesture, most of his kind had learned not to discomfort humans by smiling. It didn't seem fair, given that humans owned the same smile reflex themselves. His race were called Derf. That word was from their own language, and so far humans had not coined a nickname or even created a slur for their race. The reason for that was expressed in a common joke after the race's meeting. What do you call a Derf when you meet him? And the only sensible answer was, anything he pleases. The case Gordon tossed down held over 100 new samples of every grass, bush, and tree he could recognize as distinct, as well as photos of the site at which they were collected and an audio recording of his observations and impressions. Although he was a botanist, he also grabbed samples of insects, or even small animals if he saw something interesting. That was Jack's area of study, but he could follow up on anything Gordon brought back worth pursuing. He even on occasion brought back an interesting rock for Myrtle, their geologist, to examine. Myrtle handed Gordon a large saucepot for a mug, and he poured himself a couple liters of dark, rich coffee. Now that the 3 adults were together, they popped the tabs on some self-heating dinners, the Derf requiring a few extra, of course. "Lee sleeping?" Gordon asked. "Yeah, she wore herself out this afternoon cutting firewood." Myrtle pointed at a pile of kindling. "She wouldn't use a power tool, saying she needed to know how to do it the old way, with a saw and axe, in case it was ever a necessity. But her dad did take the axe away when she got so tired she was getting punchy. She stayed awake long enough to eat most of a ration pack and crawled in the sack." "That kid is into the self-sufficiency so much she'll want to spin the thread and weave her own cloth next time she needs a pair of jeans," Gordon joked. "You'd think she wanted to stay and be a pioneer." "God, don't give her the idea. It's bad enough what she comes up with all on her own. She wanted to know last week how hard it would be to smelt some copper from that ore body we found," her mother said. "Would it be all that difficult if we had coal or made some charcoal?" Gordon asked. "Nah, but she didn't really have anything she wanted to make with it."